About 3:20 a.m. on the 13th of January 2026, the police responds to an emergency call to an area in Pennsylvania in the United States of America. And upon arrival, they found 42 years old Douglas Dietz, unresponsive and with a wound to his head. The messy, sad story involves this boy, this 11 years old boy, Clayton Dietz, some conversations or some things around a Nintendo game. And by the end of this video, I would tell you the rest of the story, obviously. And we would look at 3 practical tips that you can apply this week. But before we continue, if you're raising a preteen or a teenager, please subscribe and follow, because every week we upload calm, practical, tested and proven tools and tips that would make your parenting journey very, very easy. Now, this story is about this boy you're saying, this innocent looking, beautiful boy who was adopted sometime in 2018 by Douglas Dietz and his partner. And 13th of January was his birthday. A little after midnight, they sang birthday songs for him and all the other birthday things, obviously, that they would have done, and then sent him to bed. So he went to bed. But before he went to bed, there was an argument about him keeping his Nintendo Switch. His dad insisted that he shouldn't take it. He wanted to take it to bed, as most young people would want to do. They like to go to bed with their games sometimes. And so the dad refused to let him take the game to bed, insisting that he goes to bed. And so everybody went to bed after that conversation. And in the night, I'm sure the young man got very angry, had time to think about this situation and got very angry. And I say very angry, and I'm going to caveat that word I've just used, very angry. And he decided to snoop around in search of the game. And while he was snooping around, he found the keys to his dad's safe locker. And obviously he wanted to check if he would find his game there. But when he opened the safe locker, he found something in there. And he decided to load the thing he found, walked up to his dad, and did the unimaginable. The mom's account, she was woken up by a very loud sound, and she woke up to this smell of something that felt like explosive fireworks in the room. And when she turned to her husband, she noticed like he was drenched in some form of fluid. Initially, she thought it was water, but obviously not water. And while she was trying to figure out what was happening, the 11 years old boy walked into the room and said, "Daddy is dead." And he said, "I killed Daddy." And while they were questioning him, one of the questions they asked him is, "What did you think was going to happen when you decided to do that?" And he said he was angry, that he was mad. That's the word he used. I was mad, and I wasn't thinking. And that's the point where I really want to zone in a bit on this conversation, because a lot of young people get angry. A lot of young people get mad for a lot of reasons, but not many young people get so mad to the point of doing what that young boy did. And so there has to be some underlying issues that we need to look at beyond what happened. In most cases, there's a pattern. There's something. There's some level of anger that is building up in the background that oftentimes get lost in some form of blind spots. And I'm going to identify 3 things that fuel this blind spot. Point number 1 is sometimes it's just being a teenager. The teenage age is not easy. I don't know if you remember when you were a teenager, but the physical changes, the biological changes, the pressure around you, that age, the bullies are getting more bullish and more nasty in their nastiness. And so there are a lot of things that put teenagers under pressure. And to make the situation worse, the mental, cognitive capacity to deal with some of this pressure is not fully developed yet. And we are in an age now where social media is not even really helping the situation. There are loads of studies out there that are saying that actually what the access to social media does to the brain development is it slows it down. So you have a situation where there's so much pressure, so much happening. There's fake life everywhere, pressure for these young people, and the brain is not keeping up with that level of growth in the pressure. And so you have that on one side of the equation. The second thing that might be happening, it could be your parenting style, to be honest. And I know this might not be something that a lot of people would want to hear, but better safe than sorry. Some styles of parenting breed and encourage anger in young people. So if you're this kind of authoritarian kind of parent where no question asked, no explanation needed, no emotion shown, the young man is going through something, instead of you to sit down and have a conversation with them, you state your position and that's it. No conversation to be had. On the flip side, the excess or the extreme end of soft parenting, where you try to validate every emotion and encourage young people to take weakness to a certain level, is also not encouraged. But somewhere in the middle, not to the extreme where you don't encourage, you don't acknowledge emotions and try to help them deal with those emotions, and even sometimes explain the situation you're dealing with. Now, I had an instance with my child, one of my children, a couple of days ago. He's still very young, but that's clearly applicable to him. So every time he takes fruits to school, vegetables, fruits to school, he doesn't eat them. He prefers the, junks, things like chips and all the other things. That's what he likes taking to school. And I've always told him the importance of eating vegetable. Oftentimes what I would do is I would say, okay, what do we have in the, I don't know, toast or whatever? He would say, okay, the bread is carbohydrate. I was okay, the ham or the, bacon in it, what's that? And he would tell me it's protein. And then I would say, what's missing? He would say the vegetable. I was okay, what do we add? He would say the vitamin, obviously. And I would say, what do we add? And oftentimes we say grape, orange, or something. But what he does recently, he takes it to school and brings the grape back. Grape is the one he says he doesn't like. And so what I decided to do is I insist. I said, okay, if you bring your fruits and your vegetables back home, you're not going to have the nasty snacks. Those are the ones he likes, the sweets and all the other things. And so that worked for a couple of weeks. It got to a point where he still brings them back. And on this occasion, he brought it back. The next day, I gave him the same fruits to take back. And he came to me, I was like, Daddy, he doesn't like grapes. And I was like, but what did we say about the balanced diet? We went over that balanced diet conversation again. But he said, Daddy, it's not just it's not just grapes that gives that gives you vitamins. And I was like, what else do we have that gives vitamins? And he went, there's carrots in the fridge. I was like, okay, you're right. And so I gave him carrot instead. So it's okay sometimes. Yes, you're the parent, but it's okay to be wrong sometimes. So he won in that case, and he was smiling and happy and then went to school. So your parenting style could be fueling that anger in your young person. The other thing that might be responsible for that, and in this case, this particular case, there might be an element, there might be something that the young person is dealing with, something traumatic experience, unmet needs, or in some situations where children are experiencing some form of abuse, it comes across in this kind of anger. And I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm not saying there's anything specific about this particular case, but we're just talking generally about what might be happening in this kind of situations. Now, this particular boy was adopted, like I mentioned earlier. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with adoption. A lot of children out there need the love of parents. And so please, if you are in a position to adopt, go on and adopt. But a lot of children have waiting for adoption have gone through several things in life before they end up in that space where they need to be adopted. In some instances, they've gone through a lot in life. And if those pains, those pressures, those feelings are not properly dealt with, it can lead to anger issues. And I'm not saying that's what's happening in this case, but it can lead to anger issues. So these are three possible things that would fuel this anger that oftentimes end up in a blind spot that a lot of us do not pick up quickly. Now, but whatever the situation is, what do you do? If you have a situation where your young person displays some level of anger, they slam doors, they raise their voice when they speak, sometimes they do things that you obviously know they shouldn't be doing. Now, it's important to pick those signs early. And if you do, what do you do and how do you handle it? Before I move on to the practical tips, let's have a chat. Because sometimes what parents really need is an opportunity to have a conversation, not to be shamed. So I'd like you to leave in the comment section, what is the main trigger point for anger in your home right now? Is it sleep time? Is it bedtime? Is it friendship? Is it outing? Just leave a comment letting me know. And also, if you can, just a bonus to add, when your young person gets angry, what do? Shut the door, walk out of the house? What exactly do they do? Leave it in the comment section and we'll take it from there. All right. Point number one, and again, I'm going to be very blunt. Be the adult in the conversation. There's a tendency for most parents and for a lot of parents to escalate along with their young people when they're getting angry. Because, I mean, you've got so much to deal with. You're thinking about the big things, the bills, the big things are the things you're bothered about. Here's a young person trying to engage in some conversations that are, in your opinion, trivial. So there's that tendency for you to escalate, not following their emotion to deal with what they're exactly dealing with. So what I would say you should do at this point is to be the adult. You calm the situation. In that example I gave you, the young man, my young boy started getting angry and, raising his voice. And I was calm and I was asking him the questions about balanced diet and all. So you need to calm down and be the adult. And I know it's easier said than done. So I'm going to give you two tools that you could use to calm yourself down in such situations. Tool number one is boxed breathing. Now, this tool sounds very easy, but I've tried it severally and it works. It grounds you. It takes you from wherever you are and brings you back to the current situation. And what it simply does is, how to simply do this is, you breathe, count 4 seconds. Make sure you're counting. When you breathe in 4 seconds. You hold the breath in 4 seconds. You breathe back up in 4 seconds and you hold it there for 4 seconds. That tool is magical. What it does is the attempt to focus your mind on the counting of the breathing helps you get rid of whatever is distracting or whatever is happening around you. Then the process of the breathing does the magic of calming you down. It works. Give it a try. The other thing I encourage parents to do in that situation is to use anchor phrases. And what are anchor phrases? Just tell yourself something that calms you down. So it could be, I'm the adult here. I'm the adult here. I'm the adult here. Or escalation never works. Escalation never works. Just think of something that reminds you to be the adult in the room. That's point number one. Point number two is there's a tool we call 2 choices, 1 outcome. 2 choices, 1 outcome. Now, what that does is it gives the young person this feeling of being in charge. So you have a situation where you want your young person to go to bed and they refuse to go to bed because they want to do whatever. What you do is you come to them and say, okay, you've got 2 choices. One, you go to bed now and we have this conversation that you want to have tomorrow morning. Or 2, you don't go to bed now, you go when you want to, and you wouldn't have access to this phone for the next 48 hours. Either ways, you are going to bed and then you walk quietly away. Now at that point, he or she feels they are in charge of what happens next. So they're going to go to bed or they can choose not to go to bed. So that decision or that feeling of I'm in charge kind of helps them to feel a bit better. And the third option is working with your young person, you could build an anger management plan. And what's an anger management plan? Now, before people get angry, there's always a trigger. There's something that triggers the anger. And once that trigger happens, there's how you feel. There's something that starts happening. Your voice, your tone starts going higher. Something starts happening. You start twitching or something. You do something to respond to that anger. So what you do here is, one, you spot that thing that triggers you. So it could be someone shouting at you or someone getting angry. That's what triggers you. Spot it quickly. Once you stop it, you stop your response to whatever you do in response to that signal. You stop it. And then the third and the final thing is you reframe. Now, reframing is a very interesting one. And what you simply do in reframing is you take something that is obviously negative and give it a positive wrap so that it gives you that positive feeling. So you miss your flight or you miss something that you were supposed to do and you tell yourself, who knows what would have happened if I had taken that flight? Maybe that plane is going to get into trouble or something. So that's you taking a negative situation, framing it in a way that gives you a positive feeling that helps you to calm down. So build a plan with your young person so that they can spot their triggers, they can stop their response, and they can reframe to present a more positive reaction to situations. Now, these 3 tools always work. Again, like I said, every week we upload calm, practical, tested and proven tools that would not just make your parenting journey enjoyable, but would definitely work and make meaningful difference in the life of your young person. So please hit the like button, hit the follow button. And to help this get to other parents, I mean, the least you can do is just to like and share so it gets to other people. But for now, thank you for watching till the end, and I'll see you again soon.